There's been some significant changes in the criminal laws here in California. I want to talk about one in particular. That's AB 1950. AB stands for Assembly Bill. And in AB 1950, basically what it does is it reduces the terms of probation for almost all misdemeanors and almost a lot of felonies as well. Previously, the maximum term for probation on misdemeanors was 5 years, and typically judges would give 3-year probations on misdemeanors, summary probation. Now AB 1950 makes it so that the maximum probation term for a misdemeanor is 1 year, with some notable exceptions. DUI cases, the maximum is still 5 years. Domestic violence cases, misdemeanor cases, the maximum term is 3 years. And for sexual charges, misdemeanor convictions, the maximum term is still 3 or 5 years. But for almost all other misdemeanors, the maximum term you could be on probation is 1 year. For felonies, the maximum has been reduced to 2 years for a lot of felonies. Some notable exceptions there as well, particularly strike cases, serious or violent cases such as murder, mayhem, carjacking, manslaughter, burglary, rape, domestic violence, criminal threats, stalking, child abuse, and sexual offenses as well. There, the max is still the maximum on the underlying crime that you can be sent to prison is the maximum probation term. But for all other felonies, almost all other felonies, the max is 2 years. And there's another exception, which is financial crimes for over $25,000. Those cases, the maximum could be 3 years. What does this mean in general? Well, it means that, first of all, once you're off probation, you have an opportunity to set aside and dismiss your case under Penal Code Section 1203.4, commonly known as an expungement. Usually what you have to do is you have to be off of probation first. Well, now that the probation has been limited for misdemeanors to 1 year and felonies to 2 years, that means you could expunge your case much quicker than you could before. Before, you had to wait till your probation terminated. It was usually 3 years, or go to court for a motion to terminate early and then expunge. Now you don't have to do that. The other thing about this law is it applies retroactively, which means that even if you were, it was passed in 2021, but even if you're on probation in 2020 or 2019 for a 3-year term, you could go back to the court. It should happen automatically, but you could go back to the court as well and make sure that your probation is now cut down to, is terminated after 1 year on a misdemeanor or 2 years on a felony. These changes were brought about by certain studies that suggested that on probation, most of the benefits on probation, especially felony probation, came within the first 18 or 24 months, and after that there weren't a lot of benefits. People usually went to jail, they needed some supervision afterwards, they had a probation officer, and they would get stabilized, and after about 18 months to 24 months they no longer needed one. That's why the term was reduced. Misdemeanor probation, of course, you don't check in with a police officer. It's also known as informal probation. Felony probation is known as formal probation. You don't check in on informal probation, misdemeanor probation, with a probation officer. You just kind of don't even check in with the court, just don't violate any laws. That's been cut down to 1 year. So this is good news for people who are negotiating their cases. You can utilize this law to kind of get you the best deal with the minimum amount of probation after